You put snot on the ball?
Haven't got an arm like yours. I got to put anything on it I can find. Someday you will, too.
It's Polar Opposites with Craig Moffitt. I mean, this guy's a Mets fan. And Matt Stevens. And this guy's a Yankees fan?
They make a terrific pair. They went together like lamb and tuna fish.
Lamb and tuna fish?
Polar Opposites. Only on Sports on the Go One Radio Network.
Andrew Gross, back for a second time on the Polar Opposites, Islanders beat writer for Newsday. Andrew, again, on short notice, thank you very much for taking the time and coming on the show with us tonight.
No problem. I mean, any show that Colin Stevenson can be on, I'm honored to be on. So.
Well, you know, we try to get only the good ones, you know what I'm saying? We try to only get the good ones.
Yeah.
Or at least the ones that answer the emails.
So, exactly. And those are the good ones. I guess, I mean, listen, we just have to start here, right? Because with Snow and Waite fired today, and then Lamoriello does what he does best, which is appoint himself as the person he just fired. He loves to do that. He did it with the Devils all the time with the head coaches. And have you heard any preliminary names out there for the head coaching position? Are we still too early for that?
No, I mean, I think it's, fair season to speculate. As far as, hearing names that he's going to line up to interview, solid facts might be a little slow coming out because Lou really plays everything close to the vest.
Right.
But, I mean, there are, I put up a list of 6 candidates on Newsday.com.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I had... starting with, some with connections to Toronto and Lamoriello and Sheldon Keefe, who's coaching the Toronto Marlies in the Calder Cup right now. And they won Game 3 tonight. And then also Maple Leafs assistant DJ Smith, who everyone believes is going to be an NHL coach when, not if.
Right.
You got I think Scott Stevens, if he's interested in coaching, would be a very intriguing candidate. And, the other ones, what happens if the Capitals go through with this plan and actually, don't renew Barry Trotz's, contract after this season? You could potentially have a cup-winning coach as a free agent, so...
That'd be crazy.
So that'd be an intriguing name. And then also, if the Caps hold on to Barry Trotz, the reason they were going to get rid of Barry Trotz is because they're so enamored of the assistant Todd Reardon. They want to make him the coach.
Right.
So either one of them, depending on what the Capitals do, could be a candidate. I put up Brent Sutter. Obviously ties to the Islanders. I saw someone else that maybe Darryl Sutter, because the Sutter brothers are just very popular on Long Island.
Right.
Maybe he's a candidate. I saw Lane Vigneault's name floated. I'm not buying that one. I don't know if he's the right fit for what Lamoriello wants to do defensively. Dave Tippett is out there. Former Devil John Madden was an assistant coach in this league. He is now an AHL coach. He's certainly well thought of by Lou Lamoriello. It could be a long list of potential candidates. And to be honest with you, until the day that Lamoriello names the coach, it may just be that speculation.
Right, of course.
Andrew, this kind of came out of left field for me, mainly because while Lamoriello became the guy to have full control over the team, you still got the sense that Snow, you didn't really get the sense that 100% sure that Waite was going to be back, but since Snow was under contract and there was like some secret extension that Wong had put together for him, that you kind of thought he was going to be pretty much with the team, maybe still with the title, but just have no power whatsoever. What was basically the deciding factor, in your opinion, was it just because Lamoriello, this is his team and he's just going to build it the way he should, or was it just because, it was just time to move on pretty much at this point?
Well, I mean, to be honest, both. And just to clarify, Garth Snow and Doug Waite were relieved of their duties
Right.
That is different from being fired from the organization. Both are still under contract, and Lou made it clear that he is still those two are still around for him to quote unquote pick their brains.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's Lou's show. There was never any doubt it was going to be Lou's show, and now he's got the GM title to go with president, just to make it clear. And Lou, Lou's point was he talked to Garth and he's talked to Doug for the last 2 weeks, and ultimately he decided that the Islanders just needed a complete culture change, and that included new voices. So to kind of get that clean slate, you kind of eliminate any doubt that of what's going on. So Garth is no longer the GM. Doug is no longer the coach. They'll be in some kind of advisory role. I mean, Garth's got a contract, I believe, goes another 4 seasons, and so he's going to get his money.
Might as well get him to work to it for it, right?
And I mean, but as far as any other personnel decisions, Lou said it was status quo as far as the rest of the coaching staff. Now, I can't believe that Lou's going to bring in a new head coach, and saddle him in with the old coach's coaching staff. But at least I think the new coach is going to probably talk to a few, or if not all of the assistants, to see if there's any match. But any new head coach is going to want his own guys in. But for now, it's status quo. No one else was relieved of their duties or fired. And the same goes for the scouting staff. And, we talked to Lou a little bit about that in terms of heading towards the draft, June 22nd and 23rd. Lou just got back from the scouting combine in Buffalo, and he had a lot of conversations with the scouting department and, kind of guiding it towards that draft. And he said the draft is in the hands of the scouting department, and he's very comfortable with the work they've done. And, some of that work was also done by Garth.
Right.
So, so that's where that is. They're not going to be, wholesale changes. Like Kenny Morrow's not going to be out. Claude Loisel is not going to be out tomorrow. We're going to go through the draft here.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's where they are with that.
Well, I think that the biggest question, obviously, this offseason, now that this is all over with, is what's going to happen in a couple weeks with JT. Is he going to go, and is he going to be a free agent, or are they going to get something done? I think that the fact that Lamoriello met with JT before he took this job, there's got to be something here.
Well, I agree with you. I think that was positive news for Islander fans and for the organization to know that there was a dialogue immediately between Lou and JT's representatives. Lou's job here it's a selling job. I mean, I think as we discussed, the money is going to be there. The Islanders will offer the 8 years. They'll offer the 10 to 10.5 million or whatever it costs to bring JT back. But the selling job is, does JT believe this is where he can win? And Lou's moves here they're all pointed towards building an organization in a better position to win. And he just has to sell JT on the vision that he has. And you know what? Lou's a very good salesman. And I don't doubt that the chances of JT re-signing with the Islanders have increased since Lou Lamoriello has taken over.
Andrew, the Islanders with 2 first-round picks back-to-back. Do you think that Lamoriello will try to trade up with those 2 picks? Or do you think that maybe he'll try to trade one for a veteran that can come in right away?
I would think he could try and trade an 11 or a 12 for a number 1 goalie. He did that with the Devils in 2013. He sent a number 9 pick,
Please.
which turned out to be
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He turned
Please.
Yeah.
Do you have one? Do you have anybody in mind? Like maybe you have anybody in mind, like as a possibility?
I'm just floating this out there, but you know what? It was just a couple of months ago that everyone in Washington was talking about Philip Grubauer being the Capitals' #1 goalie. But now, Braden Holtby straightened out his knee. But it's sort of a similar situation to when Corey Schneider was in Vancouver. You have a guy who, is in a tandem out there and is not getting the playing time that he probably deserves. And, you bring him to a new organization and you make him a #1. I think Philip Grubauer makes a lot of sense to see if, Lou can pry that guy away from the Capitals.
I was actually going to ask about the goalie. So it sounds like you think that they're going to be looking. But now with the other pick, do you think that now I don't know how much you know about like Lamoriello and his draft history, but does he seem like a best player, like athlete available, or is he more of a like need available guy? So would the other, say they trade one pick for goalie, would they use the other pick, say, on a defenseman because they had a lot of problem with their defense last year? Or is he more just the best guy available is the guy I'm taking?
Typically, and this is across the board with any organization I've dealt with, they tend to shy away from need, especially that high up in the draft.
Right.
You don't force something. You get the best athlete you can possibly get. So, it's number 11 or number 12. If it's a center who's at the top of the Islanders' board, that's who they take.
Right. Okay.
Regardless of whether we all recognize the deeper needs are in net and specifically on defense. But I haven't met an organization yet that's really going to reach to take need over best athlete that high in the draft.
Andrew, I'm trying to think. Besides that, do you think in a way, because I'm kind of thinking about the current crop of young guys on the Islanders, guys like Ho-Sang, Dal Cole, Pulak, and those guys. Do you think like Snow and Wade have kind of alienated Ho-Sang? Like now that Lamoriello is pretty much taking full control of the team, does Ho-Sang have a better shot of being on the roster this year after the comments he made about the team, with the defense and all that stuff towards the end of the year?
Let me answer 50% yes and 50% no. in that, yeah, it's a clean slate for everyone in the organization. And to be fair, I mean, Doug and Garth were, Josh can just act like, an angry kid, an angry child at times. And, you kind of look at it and you don't write off that talent just because maybe he hasn't matured yet. So I don't think he was a complete goner if Garth and Doug stayed. The no portion of this is that Josh's act doesn't fly under a Lou regime. I mean, Josh is going to have to mature quickly, and prove to Lou that he belongs in the NHL, both physically and mentally. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be good for Josh Ho-Sang because he's going to have to grow up, and he's going to have to grow up pretty quickly here because he can't make statements like that with Lou in charge.
We're talking to Andrew Gross here from Newsday, Long Island's #1 newspaper. And for a Long Island guy like me, Long Island guys like me and Craig, who loved the whole Coliseum when that was going on forever, hate going to Brooklyn. What's going on with Belmont? Is this going to happen, or are we ever going to get anything going over there?
Well, I mean, everything's still on schedule, or the schedule that they've worked out, and now they're at the point where they've got to get the environmental studies done, and it's political paperwork at this point, and getting but they're talking. I think the timeline is 8 or 9 months to get all the environmental stuff and all the certificates and all the ducks placed in a row before you get the shovels in the ground. And, that's still the timeline. So you're still looking at 2021 for Belmont Arena.
What about the Ronkonkoma Arena?
It was interesting. I saw my Newsday teammate Jim Bombach had some tweets about this today, but the local government out there gave a level of approval to this project today, and the timeline is sort of similar to what is going on with Belmont.
Right.
In other words, it's an 8 or 9 month timeline.
Right.
So basically, if the Belmont thing, blows up and falls apart, Ronkonkoma seems to be positioning itself as an alternative 8 or 9 months down the road, saying, "Hey, we're all good here. Let's consider us an option." I know from
let's have all three. Let's have Belmont. Let's have the Coliseum. Let's have Ronkonkoma, and we can still play at Barclays too. Why not just do that? We'll just split it 4 ways. That'll be fun.
Well, that'll be great because when the Rolling Stones tour again, they'll have 5 places.
Exactly.
Andrew, one last question for me, and that is, as Garth Snow is GM, he just accumulated a lot of draft picks and young kids over the years. Now that Lou Lamoriello is taking over, is pretty much running the show, and me personally, I just don't think he has the patience for a full rebuild at this point, since he's 75 and he wasn't brought here to rebuild the roster with young players. Do you see some of these guys now being packaged for more veteran talent?
That would not surprise me at all. I mean, what I've been told about Lou's thinking and coming here is that he did not see this as a full rebuild. He saw this as a chance, to kind of win sooner rather than later, and an organization that had the assets to do that. Now, when you say it's an organization that has the assets to do that, part of that could be trade chips, and bringing in, more experienced players. Now, obviously, there's also free agency. That the Islanders do have money, and I know Lou's priority here beyond re-signing John Tavares is getting in a number 1 goalie and then building defensively, because let's face it, he probably needs 2 top 4 defensemen to field a representative team next season. So he's going to be very busy this year. I certainly do not expect, the same roster coming back. But that said, Lou has been good about, leaving spots for young players to compete for roster spots, because, that does build a better team when there is roster competition, particularly amongst the young players. And there is some good young talent in the system. I mean, it's not overflowing with great young talent, but there seems to be some talent there, and we talked about some of the names who should be a little bit further along right now than they are, and perhaps they progress better under Lou and the new coaching staff.
Andrew, listen, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us again about some Islanders hockey. It was a busy day and a very good day for a lot of Islander fans, very happy day for our Islander fans. Hopefully it'll continue with the sign with Tavares coming back when free agency starts July 1st. But again, we just wanted, on very short notice, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us for a few minutes about Islanders hockey.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. And, it's great to talk when there is news to talk about. So this is fun.
Oh, we'll have you on again. Don't worry about that. You know,
we'll definitely, maybe especially during the free agency period. Absolutely.
When they sign a coach.
There will definitely be more news as the summer goes on.
Absolutely.
I look forward to that.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you take care, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
That was Andrew Gross, Islanders beat writer for Newsday.